It's no secret that one of the biggest hurdles in World of Warcraft progression rating is the roster boss. And I wanted to talk about in this video how Blizzard both doesn't help with the issue and they make the issue significantly worse by not allowing cross-realm mythic rating day one. I have raid led slash GM'd in both classic and retail, and the recruitment problems are significantly worse in retail. The main reason for this is that in classic, you can clear a 25-man raid with 17, 18 people, but in retail, you're not going to be able to kill a mythic progression boss with 19 people. And the other problem with retail is, you're always going to have somebody who has to sit because they're sick, or, their wife needs them, or they're quitting the game, like whatever the reason. And so you always need a roster of more than 20 people because you have to expect that some players can't make it to raid. And when you do that, that means you have to sit, when everyone shows up, you have to sit people for progression. And the probability that people stick with your guild after getting sad is quite low. Most of them would prefer to just go raid with a guild where they're going to be pulling progression rather than be sat. So that's its own whole issue. Okay, so a big problem, a big barrier to entry into mythic raiding that guilds have, and I know this because I've gotten over this barrier multiple times and I know how hard it is the transition from heroic to mythic. There is a massive difference when you're recruiting between being 7 of 8 heroic and 0 of 8 mythic compared to being 7 of 8 heroic, 2 of 8 mythic. People are much more enticed to come play with you after you've already killed some mythic bosses. But getting those first couple of mythic bosses down is so fucking hard because you need exactly 20 to do it. In the game, there is no decent recruitment thing. There's the in-game recruiter, which is just dog shit. I would not recommend using it. There's the Battle.net forms, which again, it's not that effective. I've used it before, didn't get a lot of results. And so, you have to go to third-party websites to recruit. And a lot of the third-party websites are fucked. Like WoW Progress and stuff, recruiting on there's so many issues. Recruiting on Warcraft Log, so many issues. But it's really the only option that you have. And a big part of the issue with these third-party websites is a lot of people just link their BNet. And I don't know if you know this, but when somebody adds you on BNet or accepts your friend's request, you don't get a notification that they accepted your friend request. So you could go through and add 10 people. And if you look at my friends list here, I have 175 friends. And so when you're recruiting and you have 175 friends and 2 people out of the 10 that you added add you back and then don't message you, you don't really have a good way of seeing that. So you have to literally go through this at times. I go through at random intervals and look at the date that people added me and use that to figure out who added me back and then try to recruit them from there. It's a mess. It's a complete nightmare. And Blizzard makes this whole problem 100 times worse by not allowing cross-realm raiding day one. It's hard to even express how difficult it becomes.
This isn't the biggest bag over the head punch in the face I ever got. God damn it!
Son, any GM or raid lead out there will understand what I'm trying to convey here. So all of this context for how difficult recruiting is and needing exactly 20 people and the difficulty of getting there and keeping people around and stuff, the problems around this blow out of proportion when you talk about cross-realm raiding, or really the lack thereof. When you're talking about the start of the tier, when people are the most into the game and recruiting is the easiest and you have the most access to players, that's when Blizzard doesn't allow you to do cross-realm raiding, which is so stupid. Because basically what happens is, let's say that you have 15 people in your guild and you're clearing heroic and you want to transition to being a mythic guild. So you can't recruit through the game. I've recruited in trade chat before. I can tell you it is a bitch and a half. It's not worth doing. You just have to go to WoW Progress if you're going to recruit decent players. And when you do that, most of the players you find aren't going to be on your realm. And if they're on a different realm and you're on a dead realm, the probability that they're going to transfer for a guild that can't even pull Mythic yet is nearly zero. You literally have to build up that roster before people will even be willing to transfer. But why would people join your guild if you can't even pull Mythic? So it's this compounding problem where you just can't get players into your guild. And so you can't pull Mythic, and because you can't pull Mythic, you can't recruit. Because you can't recruit, people leave for guilds that can. And so the guilds that are struggling get into a death spiral that kills them. Now imagine a different situation where you have 15 players. You post in Raid Finder, like the looking for group, that you're pulling Mythic, you have 15. You wait 30 minutes, you get 5 half. I mean, honestly, like the first 2 bosses are a joke. You just need 20 bodies on the field and you'll probably be able to kill them. You just wait the 15 minutes, you fill your 20, and then you kill 2 bosses, and all of a sudden, you're a 2 of 8 guild, and recruiting becomes so much easier. right? And then the other thing too, like, if people don't have to transfer to play with your guild, the probability they're going to play with you is so much higher. That's why Blizzard removes the cross realm requirement, because because basically what happens is all of these guilds start to die, and then they remove the cross realm requirement, and then you literally like increase the player base that you could reach as a recruiter by like tenfold. It's crazy. Like, even in our guild, which is a solid Mythic progression build that doesn't have roster problems, people don't want to transfer because it's $25. That's a lot. Like, that's an absurd amount of money just to transfer, especially because obviously it doesn't cost Blizzard anything. The thing that sparked this whole video was that Blizzard made a post saying that they were going to remove the cross-realm requirement for raiding next week, or like in 2 weeks. Which, okay, cool, I'm glad that you're removing it. But first of all, why is it there in the first place? And second of all, do you know what happens when you announce that you're going to remove it? Nobody will pay to transfer anymore. So the probability this week, as you're ramping up your Mythic and you're trying to, like us, we're probably Synarth and we're trying to get players in and stuff. Other guilds are probably whatever boss. Or some guilds are still trying to get into Mythic. The probability at this point you're going to get anybody to transfer this week is very low. I can tell you as a recruiter, I've talked to a bunch of players. Since that post was made, the vast majority of them don't want to transfer anymore. And a lot of these are really good players that have been around for a long time. These aren't like casual players. These are like multi-CE guys who know what the fuck they're doing. But they don't want to pay to transfer when it's going to be free next week. So not only did they fuck us all over by not allowing cross-realm raiding to start, then they announced it a week in advance so nobody will even pay for transfers anymore. And so it's just fucked. As far as I can tell, there's two main reasons why Blizzard wouldn't allow cross-realm raiding day one. The first one is that they want to make extra money. And so the idea here is basically you make people pay the $25 to transfer to raid, and most of the people who are raiding Mythic in the first couple of months are more hardcore players, so they're more likely to pay the $25. Which, if that's the reason why they're doing it, it's so painful. It's just like, it's beyond frustrating because, like, I'm so mad I can't even speak. It's beyond frustrating because that transition process from being a heroic guild to a Mythic guild is brutal enough as it is. Mythic bosses are a lot fucking harder. And they require a lot more organization and precision and a lot more skill from players. And that transition is difficult to pull off. And there's no, like, why would you make it more difficult? Most people think Mythic progression is the most fun part of the game. A lot of people think that. Like, they think killing these bosses and shit is really fun and rewarding. But nobody, I've never heard a single player who has loved a roster boss. Nobody likes the roster boss. So why would you compound the problem for early guilds? All you're doing is just killing off all of these developing guilds that have the potential to develop into real serious Mythic raiding guilds, or, be a long-term multi-year guild with lots of players, and you're just fucking killing them because you're trying to make a few bucks.
And I want to look him straight in the eye, and I want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no-good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit he is! Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
The other reason Blizzard would require a payment, and this is an argument I've seen a lot of people make, and I think it's an argument that Blizzard themselves has put forward. The idea is that by increasing the cost of entry to join a Mythic progression guild, you basically increase your commitment level to the guild. So the idea is that by paying the $25 to transfer, you're committing like $25. It's like a down payment or whatever, and like so you're invested $25 more than you would have been otherwise, which is really fucking stupid. And the reason for that is basically, let's say you recruit somebody and they're really fickle, but you get somebody to come in and help you kill a boss, or you get 4 people who are fickle, and suddenly you go from being 0 of 8 Mythic to being 2 of 8 Mythic because they came for one night before just not showing up. Do you know how much easier it is to recruit when you're 2 of 8 than 0 of 8? It's not even comparable. And so when you're talking about like these like, trying to increase the upfront cost to increase the investment players have with the guild and the guild have with the players, it's just ridiculous. That is built through socialization and friendship and teaching each other the fights and like, having that knowledge bank within your guild, all of that shit. Having like a monetary investment to joining a guild, it's just a fucking barrier to entry that has no reason to exist. In conclusion, there's really only 2 reasons I can see for it. It's either that they're after the money or they're trying to increase the barrier to entry to join a guild to increase commitment. And either way, it's fucking stupid. And I just wish they would get rid of it. I don't see any reason for it to exist. As somebody who's taken multiple guilds from the heroic level to the mythic guild, the roster boss is the hardest boss in the entire game. There is no boss that's harder. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching.